There are so many amazing trends happening in fashion right now that I am so excited about. So for today's video, we are going to dive in to 10 of the fall trends that we are seeing hit the runway that I also haven't really seen anybody online really talk about yet, which is honestly kind of surprising to me because, I mean, well, I picked all 10 of these trends, so they are some of my personal favorites. So it is kind of weird to me that nobody has really been talking about these ones yet. So what we are going to do is we are going to dive in to how each designer is presenting these trends on the runway. And then I'm also gonna show you guys how I style each of these trends and hopefully give you a little inspiration on how you can work what is happening in fashion right now into your wardrobe. So yay, let's dive in. We also have style icon Capri here to also share her opinion on each of these trends as well. Right, honey? The first trend that we are going to dive into is pearls, and we have seen pearls hit the runway in prior seasons, but I really see them amping up this season, and I think that it will be a trend that carries over in many seasons to come and will only become more and more apparent and dominant on the runway. So we're seeing this in a lot of different ways. There's a lot of different designers using it as just accessories for their garments, but we're also seeing a lot of pearl embellishments, which is personally what I really love. I mean, I am wearing pearl accessories today, but Givenchy specifically, they had this one look that totally stood out to me, and it was funny because it was just a plain white shirt and some jeans, but the jeans were embellished in pearl beads, and I just thought it was the most beautiful thing. Like, what a simple and fun way to spice up just a basic jean, and that's actually a really easy DIY that I honestly will probably indulge in. Is flapper era continued, and this one is kind of a big umbrella term that I coined for just a lot of different things that we are seeing on the runway. So I'm kind of putting a lot of trends under the umbrella of flapper era. So what I mean by that is we're seeing a lot of fringe, we're seeing a lot of beautiful embellishments and beading all over pieces of clothing. We're seeing even some drop waist hemlines, which is very much reminiscent of what was in style in the original Roaring 20s. And I think it's super fun that, you know, we are in the 20s once again, and we're seeing so much inspiration from that era in all over the runway, which I love. Personally, for me, the 20s was one of my favorite eras of fashion just because everything was very glamorous and everything was very like thoughtful and intricate and sparkly and beautiful, and I'm very much here for sparkle. That is one of my favorite things, and so I love seeing all these beautiful and creative ways that designers are taking inspiration from the original Roaring 20s and modernizing them. The next trend that we are going to be discussing is lots of leather. And this is something that always comes up in the fall, in the winter, and really seems to have more of a forefront during this season. And that's to be expected. Leather is a very warm and durable type of fabric. There's kind of a whole bunch of different variations that designers are taking on this, and one is a very like biker-esque punk rock type style of it, where there's lots of studs, lots of reinforcements, lots of weaving, which is really, really cool. But then there's also a lot of really elegant uses of leather as well, which is so fun to see. And we're seeing like full, complete head to toe leather looks, and it is a fit, it is a look. we are diving into is what I am calling sky-high boots. And this is more than just an over-the-knee boot. It is more than just a thigh-high boot. It is a all the way up your entire leg type boot. And I just think that this is so cool. It looks like tights, but just continued all the way down with the shoe at the bottom, which for fall and winter is really, really great because that will help keep you warm. But I think it also has such a cool look to it, almost like really tall stockings. So there's kind of like this lingerie aspect almost to it, not really, but like a little bit, if you kind of get what I mean. But we're seeing designers do this in a lot of different ways. A lot of them are doing it in a really sleek, skin tight way, and we're also seeing it done very baggy as well. Personally, I like the more sleek version, the one that's a little bit more skin tight, but that's just my personal preference. Okay, I have to be completely honest. I do not have any sky-high boots. I don't even have any thigh-high boots. So I'm just wearing the tallest boots that I have for the sake of demonstrating this trend. We have also been seeing for several seasons prior to this one, but corsetry is still here. It is still making a statement, and I predict that it will be here for quite a while after this season as well. And that's something that in general I have noticed with a lot of these trends. A lot of these trends are just repeat and rolling over season after season, which I love. It seems as if fashion is starting to slow down, which is really, really wonderful. I very much appreciate about how fashion is moving right now. It's just slowing down a little bit, but designers are just getting a little bit more creative on how they're using these trends, which I think is really inspiring. Christian Dior actually did a really cool corset over a trench coat, which I loved. I thought it was so beautiful. This is one that I have personally been rocking for quite some time and will continue to rock because it's a personal favorite of mine. Okay, this next trend is one of my favorites, and it is gloves. I love that gloves are coming back into style. I don't know why they ever left style. It is reminding me of Hollywood glamour, which is such a source of inspiration for me. I love watching old Hollywood films. I love taking inspiration from what the women of these old Hollywood movies were wearing and using that to influence how I dress as well. And I am here for the gloves. And they're being done in a lot of creative ways as well. We're seeing them as short, we're seeing them all the way up the arm, we're seeing them all the way attached to shirts, which is one of my personal favorites. I have yet to find an affordable fashion brand that is offering tops with gloves built into them, but once I find the perfect top, I will instantly buy it because that is something that I love. I just think it looks so cool. It's just very glamorous and fun, and I think that the gloves add a little bit of whimsy to the outfits as well. There's a little bit more of like a fantasy with it, which I love. Green has been a dominant color on the runway for several years at this point, but we have a new queen and she is hot pink, and I am so here for this. Valentino actually did one of the most iconic runway shows. It was incredible. The entire first half of the show was all pink, head to toe, these gorgeous monochromatic hot pink outfits. The stage was hot pink, the walls were hot pink, like everything was hot hot pink. And then the second half of the show was actually all black, which I thought that contrast was so cool. But hot pink is definitely one of those colors that is really taking the forefront of fashion right now, which I love. And it has been a really dominant color on the runway for many seasons, but right now it is right at the front of the stage. It is the center of attention and I am here for it. The next trend that we are going to dive into is tulle, and I really love this fabric. I think that with the tulle fabric there is an element of fantasy, there's an element of magic, and there's an element of fairy tale almost, just a little bit of fantasy, which is so fun. I definitely think tulle is still not at the forefront of fashion yet, but we're really starting to see more and more designers get creative with it and use it more and more in their collections, which I love. And I think that it will continue to be a really beautiful fabric that we will see on the runway for many seasons to come. And I think, again, it's only going to amp up in popularity in terms of trendiness. Trend we're going to talk about is what I am calling risky business, and it's kind of like that corporate attire trend but done in a really different way. We're seeing like lots of cool cutouts, lots of sheer fabrics, and just lots of creative what's the word? Creative uses of a classic button-down shirt, but redone and modernized and brought into a new life. I love how it's been done so differently as of recently. People are getting really risky about their corporate attire, which I think is so fun. It just seems like a lot more playful. The final trend that we are going to be talking about today is sheer fabrics. And this again has been very dominant on the runway for quite some time, and I believe again will continue to be something that we see season after season as we progress forward, and that is something that I love. But specifically with fall, it's really beautiful to layer all of these sheer fabrics. I mean, on the runway some of them are very just all the way out there. Personally, I do like to show a little bit more skin. That's just me though. I know some people really hate the sheer fabric trend because it is more risky. It's a little bit more scandalous. It's a little bit more sexy. I get it. It's not for everybody. It's just one that I really love, and I always love seeing how designers take that trend and put a little twist on it for their collection. At the beginning of this video, there are so many beautiful things happening in fashion right now. There's so many cool trends that are happening, and I would love to know what your personal favorite trends are right now, because it's so fun. We all have different opinions and different ideas, and I think it's always really cool to just kind of see a different perspective. So I would love to know what you have been loving. I would love to know what you have been rocking, and I also cannot wait to see you in the next video. Bye, friends.